Today we're going to have three presentations around Stepwise, which is this method that Larry and Dimitri are going to talk to us about, which is a kind of action research method for young people, for students, based in the critical science classroom. And I think Larry developed this method and is going to talk to us about this. And Dimitri is a science teacher who's applying this method in his classroom. And then I'm actually going to share a couple of reflections at the end, because I was lucky enough to do a case study in Dimitri's classroom, where I observed or participated in a Stepwise program. And I'm going to reflect more specifically on how we can, what happens when we try and implement critical pedagogies in the secondary school classroom, and what are the issues we bump into and what are the opportunities. So yeah, Larry, if you want, I'll pass over to you. I'm leaving the presentation of how you want to present yourself up to you. That's good.
Right. Okay, I hope the technology works here. So is that screen showing?
Yeah. And just to tell you, Larry and Dimitris, I will just tell you when 10 minutes have passed. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was going to set a timer here, actually. Okay. So yeah, I'd like to talk to you about critical and activist science and technology education. Actually, I've given it different names over the years. As you've been told, the underlying project is called Stepwise. I'll elaborate a little bit later as I go. So I wanted to be upfront with my position. I'm a retired professor, but still very active with research and publication. And this is basically very simplistic, but nevertheless, there's an image to give you some ideas around where I stand politically, and economically and socially around science and technology education. So I think that elite, so-called 1% of the population are using STEM professionals and STEM educators and large fractions of populations to serve as cheap labor, sucking up resources and creating all kinds of problems as they create ongoing products and services with an agenda to continuously grow, regardless of the damage that is happening surrounding them. So I kind of assume that what I've just said is not particularly startling to many people in this group, from what I could gather. So let me know as we go along. So because of these problems that I see, we have been, since 2006, promoting so-called RENA projects, that is short for research-informed and negotiated actions to address harms that the students perceive in relationships amongst science, technology, or STEM and members of societies and environments. In Ontario, where I work for many years, we've had a STSE component of the curriculum that now a conservative government is trying to wipe out. So there's lots of politics involved in this. But these RENA projects essentially involve the students generating a series of actions, a collection of actions that may support common values common to those students. They can base their actions, though, on we've encouraged them to carry out primary research, of course, secondary research like internet searches, and we've certainly kept in mind that students' prior education will combine with these more firsthand knowledge sources to inform their decisions about actions to take. So that's the RENA project that we aim to promote and have since 2006. Before I can proceed with, well, how do we get the students to the point where they can do that? I want to have you ask yourself, what do you see here? Maybe we could entertain a couple of quick answers. What does anyone see? Anyone at all?
Jesus.
Okay, anyone else?
House.
House, okay. One more?
A map.
A map, yes, so these are very common conceptions or views that people have of a common object. So it's, you know, obviously, or at least we think it's obvious that it's black and white images, less and more light. But those stimuli, of course, cause us to construct in our minds particular perspectives that are unique to us and actually very resistant to change. So whatever ideas we have in our heads already, it's not easy to change them. Now, quickly, when I do this with students, I typically kind of lead them to see, oh yes, there's a bearded man here. Not everyone will see that, but that in itself is a pedagogical point in the sense that students' conceptions of any kind of image or information varies, and it depends on their existing constructs in their minds. And they're different. They may or may not be correct and so on. So there are all kinds of pedagogical implications of this kind of phenomena as support for constructivist-based teaching and learning. Not to say that they're the same, by the way, but I guess I'm waiting for questions down the road. Next slide. There. So to get the students to the point where they can indeed conduct RENA projects independent of authority figures, and for many years, I was a promoter of intellectual independence, and I continue to be to some extent. Now, so given the differences that you see, actually, I think I forgot something, but anyway, given the differences that you see in students' abilities to discover things, we provide them with a pedagogy that is basically this 3-cycle sets of lessons and activities. You can learn much more about them at the stepwiser.ca site, but broadly speaking, particularly important aspect of this is direct instruction with application activities. Now, that may or may not jive with you in terms of very common inquiry-based learning approaches. I don't know if that's something that is sort of prioritized in Europe. It's certainly a big thing in the States, and to some extent here in Canada. So in opposition to expecting students to discover those things that we think are important to them and are denied of their access through to propaganda that goes on in the world, and I could go on and on. We strongly believe in direct teaching with application activities. So it's not in one ear and out the other. It's them learning something and using it in that teacher teaches phase. And then we get them to practice these projects with support from the teacher, not guidance. So it's not, these are not guided inquiries. These are an action projects. These are student-led with teacher support type activities. And then we get them to think, well, where am I now? We get them to reflect on their current positions. And then the teacher may decide, okay, you've had enough of this, you're ready for that. So that's the stepwise pedagogy, probably as short as I can make it. I am going to elaborate a little bit on RENA projects. So here's another way of looking at RENA projects. It's particularly important in the sense that through their research, which some people say is just science, but anyway, translations between phenomena of the world and their representations, we've been encouraging actor network theory use. So having the students generate actor network maps based on their secondary research and their own reflections. And then there's some primary research In this case, we've encouraged students to not only try to tell people what actions they take, not only should we have them tell people things that they might do, but actually create a new, hopefully eco-just technology that can become part of a normalized world, a changed normalized world. Now, how's my time?
Very fine.
Okay, I'm going to like to play this video, and I think it's a nice example of what students have been doing in this kind of work.
But what is it that you're actually working on right now?
I'm blocking out the different networks in my mind map.
You're what?
I'm blocking out the different networks in my mind map.
Oh, you're blocking out the different networks in your mind map. Okay. So what have you blocked out so far? And why I see you have something in yellow color there. Can you just tell me briefly what those are?
The yellow colors are basically representing all of the workers and like their problems with global warming and things like floods and the effects of global warming, and then going into like UNICEF and like child labor, and then
What is the product that you're studying?
Pantene shampoos.
Pantene shampoo. Okay. And what's the purple ones that I see there?
The purple ones are all of the people who make money off of the product. So the company, the farmers who get the sugar cane, which is then made into plastic.
So all along the way, somebody there is profiting, right? Would those people line up together and to support this brand image of the shampoo, or?
Yeah, because if there is less people buying the product, that affects how much money
Right,
they
that
have.
affects how much money they might have.
Their quality of
Okay.
life.
Thank you.
Didn't blow it. There we go. So that's actually all I had to say. I hope I didn't go too far under or over. If you're interested in learning more about it, I'm happy to have emails from you. You can check out my actual website, but part of that is the Stepwise website component of it. The address for that is a little different, stepwiser.ca. And one thing you might be interested in looking at is the journal that we have developed and run since 2009. It's an open access, non-refereed journal called Journal for Activist Science and Technology Education. And there's a short link there that should take you to the site. And then finally, I have prepared a larger article for teachers that if you're interested, you can download from that tiny URL. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot. There's so much in there, right? So like the whole mixture, trying to, and depending also where you're thinking from, no, the like
yes.
science technology as environmental education, thinking that those like the politics of science education with which we started with your nice slide. And I'm really happy that you shared a little bit of footage in the end of some classroom, because we were saying last time it would be so nice to actually see some of this in action. So we thought that we hear also from Dimitri, and then we have a conversation all together.